Chris, man,
Yep.
what's your favorite scary movie?
Oh no, I thought that too. I just didn't want to give you a hint as it. Uh, but what's crazy is uh, Scream is one of my favorite scary movies. It
I
has
know.
always been top 3. So yeah, Scream. Let's go with that.
Okay. I knew that. That's why I asked you that question, because today we're gonna be talking about Scream 6, man. Scream 6.
Six of these.
I know. Welcome back to the Wild Geek Show. Intro 1 for 1. We ain't playing around this week, man. It's your boy G and the homie ChrisyLite, and yeah, man, that joint. I saw it. I went. I am the complete opposite. Like, Chris has a top 3 scary movie list, bro. I don't even have a 1. Like, I don't do scary movies like that. But I'm in my bag. I'm already breaking records this year for the amount of scary movies that I've seen. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Scream 6, bro. So first things first, man. What did you think of that opening?
And I love the opening.
Okay. The dramatic pause we get every time.
So you know I have this rule when it comes to scary movies. They get this up. And I ain't gonna lie, I had to apply it to this movie. I had to. But that opening for me, for normal Scream movies, they kind of are like this parody of scary movies, and they kind of poke fun at scary movies sequels, trilogies, all the tropes that scary movies have, and they want to poke fun of it.
Right.
And this one was a tense introduction, and then also they just ripped Ghostface mask off immediately, and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, there's never been a Scream movie where they just revealed the killer in the first scene. So I'm just sitting there like, ain't no way we just gonna be following in this Scream movie. We already know who Ghostface is, and then we're just gonna watch the movie, and they just subvert expectations again. And I'm like, all right, this is one of the best openings I've seen. So how'd you feel about that opening?
That joint was lit. They got Flash Thompson in that joint. I was just like, bro, I was scared already. I had a hoodie on. I had my hood on, and I was sitting there like this trying to watch it, because for me, everything about Scream is about the anticipation. It's about the conversation that we see happen on screen. And I was just like, oh man, we're really in for it. If this is how you open the movie, like, this joint is finna go crazy. I think that, like, because I don't have the lore like you do. This is the first Scream movie I watched in theaters. I've seen a couple of them, like, in passing, like on TV or whenever they would show up, but I'm never was like, oh, I gotta go see Scream. But this one had some reasons for me to go, so I'll leave it at that until we get to it. But the actual opening had me like really hyped just to see, like, okay, how they really finna flip this, because this is not normal. I don't think this is normal. And it introduced me, at least as a newer viewer of it, to the whole Ghostface phenomena. Like, I didn't even know that was the name of it, and I just thought it was Scream. Like, that's literally what I thought it was, the name of the monster or the person or whatever. But it's a real fandom, and that's a scary thing to think about, that these 2 college kids that are into film and like slasher movies, and it's basically like a slasher movie within a slasher movie type beat, that we're witnessing, could still end up getting done dirty in the midst of their own plot of doing somebody else dirty. Like, the teacher, like, what, like, she didn't even do nothing. Like, it was just
exactly. It was kind of like, you're a slasher movie college professor,
yeah,
yet you still walk down a dark alley in the middle of New York. And it's kind of like, still Scream has that little poking fun at these horror movies where it's like the main character can be the smartest person or have all the knowledge, yet they still do the dumbest stuff. Like,
Right.
why did you? I'm talking to you on the phone, and
Right.
I'm literally saying, I don't see you, and you're
Right.
just that dumb that you just walk down the street and ghost faces are like, yeah, this is how slasher movies be, and this is why you're dead. Like,
That's so crazy, bro. And this is like, a film buff's dream movie, I feel like, because of all the just like language that they use. Um, and with whether they're talking about like the actual situation or they're just talking about movies in general. Like I thought it was really cool just seeing how invested everybody was, and then for this to be um a quote unquote sequel to the previous movie, it was
requel.
like, or requel, I don't know.
It's a lot of term.
Yeah, to the first movie or the fifth movie. uh I was doing a lot, playing a lot of catch up, like while
Yeah,
I
for
was
sure.
watching it, and it wasn't like it was a difficult thing, but it was just like, okay, I can understand what's happening, especially seeing the trailer and the trailer like movie ratio being like pretty good, as far as like they don't really give away too much in the things that they show you. It's nothing like what you would think in the trailer, like it's way better to me at least. But I mean, as far as like the to me as being the scaredy cat, the jump scares like wasn't that crazy, but they still had some moments where it was like, oh, they got me on that one, you know. What did you think about that part of the movie? Like, was you freaking out a little bit while you was watching it? Did you have to check the back seat like you always say?
No, no, no. Definitely Scream has never gotten me in that mode.
Yeah.
This one, however, this Scream to me is a much more thrasher movie than a lot of the previous ones.
Mm-hmm.
There was some, to be honest, this is one of the most brutal Screams too. I don't think there's a more savage and deadly Scream around.
Right.
These killings are pretty serious, and even that scene at the convenience store when Ghostface holds a shotgun. I mean,
Nah, that was crazy.
that was crazy. I mean, that's
You
kind of
can't even do that for real. Like, there's no way you could just pull out one hand shotgun somebody like that, point
and
blank.
it, and even that type of scene, it was just so intense. And this
Yeah.
has to be one of the most intense screams I've watched.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's most Scream movies don't get me look in the back seat because there's always that who done it. It's like one of
Right.
those movies. Who done it? Who's Ghostface? And then why? And a part of the Scream movies is kind of like Ghostface always comes back to the main character, and the main character originally was Sydney, and she did not appear in this movie, which was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much we have the two new characters. I think it was Sam and Tara.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so those are pretty much now the new Sydneys, and Ghostface is coming back to pretty much haunt them again.
Mm-hmm.
So
Haunt is
it
crazy.
yeah, haunt.
Haunt is crazy work.
So it's still in the same vein of Scream movies, but it's just so enjoyable to watch this one because I think they did a good job with the tension of putting the characters in danger and then
From the jump too.
having you on the toes on who it is because you're kind of like, all
Yeah.
right, I see these five characters on screen. How the heck is their Ghostface? And
Right.
then you're like, wait a minute, like the next minute, how are we got everybody on the screen now,
I
and
know.
then there's still Ghostface. Like
Yeah.
it just really puts your mind in who did it, how are we, where are we getting to, and even before the grand reveal, you kind of are like second guessing who could it be, which is
Mm-hmm.
is just the best fun about, or the thing I love the most about the Scream movies.
Yeah. I I was just wondering, like, because this one is set in New York specifically, like, are the rest of them like usually around Halloween, like when it happens?
A couple. I think there's
Okay.
only one that's actually set around Halloween,
Yeah.
maybe two, but I think one is set around Halloween time. But
Okay.
this one being in New York,
That made it crazy.
yeah, it made it a step up. I think they went to LA one time and they didn't really
Okay.
show anything Los Angeles like. This
Right.
one was really cool being in New York. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
thought they would go little more New York, like maybe we
Mm-hmm.
got a scene of Ghostface in Times Square. But to me, that
Oh,
it
okay.
was
I see what you're
enough.
saying.
Like
Like
it was enough,
landmarks.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna, because Manhattan or whatever was such a
Hmm.
big promo for like the trailers, like you're
Yeah.
talking about. I thought we were gonna visit more stuff like that, but
Right. Right.
it's a solid step up from that boring old town of Woodsboro that most Scream movies take place in. I think like four of them all take place in the same town.
Right. Right. Because I was just sitting there when I'm like, yo, I like Halloween in New York gotta be insane. If everybody's
That
just walking around in a mask and
that
like,
subway,
I was
crazy,
terrified. I was
crazy.
terrified, bro. I was like, I would never do this. Like,
Yeah, why?
bro.
You're in New York. It's gonna be filled. And like you said, this whole hysteria, like now everyone knows about the Ghostface killer and how popularized it is. And
Hmm.
now we're at Halloween. You know you're gonna see 50 of them. You
Right.
know.
And you don't know who it's gonna be. Like, that's the thing. Because yes, they have like the different masks and stuff that, anybody could buy a mask or whatever. But it was just the fact that, like, bro, you're putting yourself from being like more like in a wide open space, and
Yeah.
like, like for how far they had to go in the subway, you
Eight
know,
stops, something like that.
it was like 10, bro. It was like 10.
That's a wow.
I was like, yo, this is the dumbest thing you could ever do.
Yep.
And it was just like, we're a little bit ahead. We're getting a little bit ahead as far as like what actually happened in the movie, but it was those things that had me like really shook in the theaters, because it's like, bro, y'all are some L friends
Yep.
for
It was
even
like,
thinking
oh
about
no, we're
this.
separated. I'm like, y'all
Yeah,
ain't walking together.
right.
Why are y'all rushing onto the train? I don't get it.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but so before we get any deeper into the actual story, man, like what did you think of, like, I guess Ghostface itself, initially before the reveals? Do you feel like this was the most like tactical, or like does this one had the biggest mystery behind it? Because for me, like, I didn't know what he wanted. I like
Yeah.
I knew the fact that they wanted the main girl and Tara, right? And I didn't know why, but like I could tell that much. But then once the cameos started happening of like past people that were in
Yeah.
past movies, I
Going
was
crazy.
that's when that's when I kind of got confused, because like there's definitely a benefit to watching like the full franchise and going into it blind. It's not difficult to, like, like I said, like understand what's happening, but I feel like I'm definitely missing like some key underlying things that's like if you've seen all the rest of them, you're like, oh, this is why this is happening, or like, when they
Yeah.
start to break down like how do we do this better this time, essentially.
And I think that's like my only like issue with the movie entirely, because we're
Hmm.
sitting at six. And
Yeah.
like I said, it's one of my favorite franchises anyway. But six, you get to a point like, what is Ghostface trying to accomplish for the
Hmm.
sixth time? Like
Yeah.
like Ghostface would always have to do something different.
Hmm.
And after the reveal, when you look back at what Ghostface is saying the whole time, it makes more sense.
Hmm.
But like you, I too was confused when I was watching. I'm like, what is the link from this killer to Sam and Tara? There's like
Yeah.
nothing. The whole
Right.
time I'm kind of like, "W- is your beef just to be like, I'm gonna expose you because you lied and the
Yeah.
internet knows the truth that you're the killer? But
Right.
like you said, if you watch the previous one, you just know that's not true.
Yeah.
Like,
So even if
and
you
what?
watch the previous ones, you're still confused.
Yeah, so
Okay.
even in the previous one, it's like, Gail, Sydney, and then Tara and Sam know who the previous killer was. So the internet is
Hmm.
just like dead wrong. But it's kind of like
Right.
the Scream motives in each movie, it's based on some type of narrative. And in this one, it's kind of like, um, we don't believe the story you're telling us.
Hmm.
And the internet is trying to reveal like the fake narrative. That's why she was walking down the street and then this random girl just throws drinks on her and says like, "Oh, you're the
Right.
killer." And
Right.
in reality, it's like, no, that's not true. But the internet wants to believe whatever it wants to believe, and
Mm,
then the killer is just taking advantage of that. But the whole time watching the movie,
yeah.
I mean, you're kind of like, what is that link to any of these characters? And
Right.
the Scream movies normally will always show the killer on screen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so when you're watching the movie, someone that appeared on screen is clearly the killer. And then
Yeah.
as you're okay, this is the new character. Oh, this is Kirby. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
here's Gale Weathers. You're kind of like, at what point would any of these people be the killers? You're so
Yeah.
it out of all the screams, Ghostface, I mean, it's up there,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like the best ones.
Right.
That's probably what I would say.
Okay. Because like that is a thing where people fantasize or whatever about these types of people, these serial killers and stuff like that. So like initially, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was initially like somebody was just obsessed with the thought of it, and then it was like, oh, now she's getting all the credit, I guess, even though she don't want the
Yeah.
credit. So it's like, what is doing that going to prove, essentially, if nobody's there to tell the story?
Yeah.
So it's like the
And it's weird
logic
because
there is
they say
weird.
in this one, Gale wrote another book on this. And
Yeah, like
Gale's
when did that
written
happen?
Yeah, and Gale's written the previous survivors
Yeah.
book. So it's kind of like
Oh,
the
okay.
internet's like, I just don't believe you this time. Like, you're lying. And
Oh, so
the
she
person's
wrote
kind of
she wrote a book about Tess and Sam. I mean Tara and Sam's
yeah.
experience previous in the previous movie,
Yeah,
and
pretty
they
much
just
Scream
did them
5, she
dirty.
wrote a book, and then
Okay.
they felt like she did her dirty.
Okay.
But
That's why she
kinda
got
like the
socked.
internet's the Yeah, 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 and that's like a thing in Scream movies. So a lot
Yeah.
of stuff in this movie, there's like a little callbacks to the originals and stuff like that.
Okay.
And they make a point in all the movies. They do like in this one, oh, it's called a requel because it's like
Mhm.
a sequel redone because
Okay.
they rebooted the franchise with Scream 5. So
Mhm.
it's Scream 6. So it's not a sequel.
Right.
And then they go down the normal path of Scream movies where they tell you what are the rules to movie requels.
Right.
And it's like, oh, we have to do it completely different. You can't do this and this. Oh, the
Mhm.
main characters are 100% chance to die, but not only that, the original characters are even more
More.
likely to die. And when you
That's when
think
I
about
was
stuff,
like, yeah, that's when I was in the movie when she was explaining that. That's when I was like, okay, what is going on?
yeah, it's like very mind breaking because you got to think about
Yeah.
other movies that had a franchise, did three, and then they did requels, and
Right.
it's like kind of like on the writer's board, how do we top the original? And
Mhm.
then there's always these rules on how they do it, and this is why sequels are bad, or this is why trilogies are bad, and this is
Okay.
why remakes can be bad. So
Right. Okay. Okay. I get that. Um. All right. So, what did you think of like the cast? Because I think the cast was better than the actual movie. Like, I feel like they acted their butt off versus like what we got from the actual story when you like take a look at like what we just did.
yeah.
I feel like the cast was a lot better than what we were shown.
I think they were way better in this one than the last Scream. Like
Hmm.
Scream 5, that there was something about doing another Scream, and you're like, this main character is not that likable.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing, and it's kind of like, do we even need a
Hmm.
reboot of Scream? And I
Right.
feel like in this one, every character got their boost that they needed,
Hmm.
and you kind of wish the previous Scream had these lines, this emotion from each of the characters because they're way more likable in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell that. Cause like even I think the element that we keep going back to is just they got out of Wellsbury, right? So
Yeah,
with that being said and time passing, um, there's like you said, like animosity that builds up. There's Team 4 Star. It's like no,
yeah,
it's a core four, core
yeah,
four. But
core
that's
four.
that's what reminded me of was Dragon Ball with Yamcha. But that's a whole nother subject. But when you get them, when you take them out of your element, the people usually grow, and it's not the same old story that you're kind of used to. This one's set in a New York City apartment. This one is New York based. Everybody is coming from different parts of the city essentially to help, and there's multiple levels that I don't think are like usually in scary movies. As far as like you got the main people that are the victims, essentially. You got the killer, and then you got the aftermath. But this one have multi-layered of elements of the people that's already done survived once, and then you got the police, you got the FBI, and you got an investigative journalist, and all these different things that like apply to like, oh, it was moments where I was like, oh dang, I forgot Gail was in this movie, like, and we just like popped over there or whatever, because it was a lot of like wall breaking moments that didn't happen like physically, essentially, but like it was there for you to realize like, oh, this is something new was happening right now. Like when they were doing the trace, and it was like, oh, this is the thing that you see all the time in movies and TV shows. They're gonna take 15 minutes to do this. And it's like, no, it should take about 15 seconds. I was like, oh, okay, I like that. I like what's happening right now. And like the cast has those moments to really, I don't know a better word to binge on, essentially, like to really develop their characters. So I feel like prior to like meeting everybody and not knowing who was in the actual group, once they broke it down, I'm like, okay, you're the love interest, you're the such and such person. Like when they broke it down and had me like really understand the characters.
Love interest.
Right. Yeah, like things like that. I was just like, okay, like I really like what's going on here, that I don't necessarily need to know what happened in the previous movie, because they do a great job of like establishing them by themselves and having their own moments, especially like with not just the love interest, but like the different relationships that we get to see, what I'm saying, and develop, and people just trying to make it, bruh. Like it was crazy. It was crazy.
It's like trying to have a relationship with somebody else while also being hunted down by a murderer. It's like,
right. It's like there's time and places, bro. Like for stuff. But I guess now, like, let's talk about the actual people getting bodied. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, everybody survived basically. Like, if you really think about it, as far as like the main cast, like the ones that were in it are still in it, essentially.
Yep.
Right. But like the people that did get bodied really got bodied in a like you said, in a brutal way. Yeah. Like some people caught some mad strays though. Like Gail's boyfriend, like dang. All the muscles did not help that man. Like, and when he got
like that was the joke in it. I was like, yo, that's crazy.
And like the way
all that gym work.
That's what I'm saying. And like how calm he was about like, it's the killer. Like here's the phone. Like you don't immediately go and get the blicky, bruh. Like the logic right there don't make sense. But like when he got snatched up, I was geeked. I was like, oh no. I was like, it's over with. It's over with.
And that's like the moments where I always say scary movies get a buff, because first of all, how the heck is Ghostface in her expensive apartment?
Right.
Like, did this man scale up the side and come through the window?
Exactly.
And like you said, oh, it's the killer. Here you go, sweetie.
Yeah.
It's every day. I mean, she said that on the phone. Like this is like the 5th time, blah blah blah. Because I'm sure she gets prank phone calls all the time. But come on now, she got state of the art alarm system. But the way Ghostface snatched him up, I was like, that's crazy.
Like he snatched him up, y'all. Like I'm not capping. Like he really got yoked. I was like, dang.
It sounded like in those video games when you be wondering, like, dang, they didn't see that guy get snatched up, and it's like, nope, I'm nice like that. Like
he's out there looking like Joel. Like
yeah.
But then another one that makes sense later on was what was her name? Cassie? I think her name was like Cassie, the redhead junk. I forgot her name.
Quinn.
But the Quinn, the daughter to the policeman, like, cause it's like, dang, how do you get? They got all these locks and he already in there, and like, I was just like, bro, in the apartment, just chilling, and it was crazy to see that, and then like see all the splatter and like all the craziness, and then like she just fine the next day, and it was just like, nah, that really got me. I was like, bro, like,
Well, I think that was the one when they murdered her, and then he couldn't get through the door or whatever. Like Ghostface was stuck through the door.
I thought they was in her room though.
They all were at the dinner table, remember? And they were
Yeah,
saying like, "Oh, we're the core four." And then the other boyfriend sent the picture of
right.
Ghostface
In the
and
room.
Quinn in the room. And then when
Yeah,
they go to the door, they like kind of stand at the door, and
right,
it's like, wait a minute, your friend in the door
right.
getting murdered. Like you have the evidence. The killer
Yeah,
is in there
in
killing
the
your
house.
friend, and y'all are just gonna stand at the door. And then it's
Yeah,
like they open the door and they push her out, and she's like stabbed already. And then the whole apartment
man.
Ghostface attack happens.
But it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. I think the worst one for me that hurt the most because not physically hurt, but it made me cringe because I felt it for some reason. What? Because like Youngins was really getting stabbed in the joint. It was crazy. It was the subway one when
Yeah.
I can't remember nobody's name for some reason right now.
Mindy,
Minty, or something like that. Yeah, start with an M.
could
Mindy.
be something like that.
Where she was like, she kept looking like everybody knew what was just going to happen because of the trailer, right? So you knew what was going to happen, but like they kind of fake you out, right? But it wasn't the fact that she got stabbed. Like she got stabbed and then ripped up,
Yeah.
you know? And I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, how did you like surviving, bro? And then at the end of the movie, she was like, yo, they gave me a lot of drugs. And I was like, bro, ain't no way, bro. Ain't no way. Because these done should have, like, if, because she had, like, the reaction I have all the time, and, like, not all the time, because it doesn't happen all the time, but she has the reaction of, like, when I have, like, nightmares or dreams or whatever, where, like, something bad happened, and I'm like, dang, you got me.
Like, I'm stabbed, I'm dead.
I like, ain't no way I'm going out like this, bro.
Yeah.
I was in the theater geek, bro. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy. And but like you said, like the fact that there was multiple ghost faces is what made this joint super elite in that sense, because you could never really guess who it was, you know?
Yep.
Cause like everybody was kind of like in solidarity, and then you have this moment, and like you start to question, like, oh, it could be you, it could be you, it could be you. And he's like, you can't trust nobody. And the boyfriend from across the street, I ain't trust him. I was like, it's him. I just knew it was him, bro. I knew it was him. And there was like, what's her name? Tara was like, good call. Like not bringing him in to the final destination or whatever. But there's a lot of stuff that freaking happened in this jump. But I feel like I've been talking for a little bit. So what did you think about like all the stabs? I don't know, the slashes. I don't know what you call them.
I mean, the one thing I definitely dislike about this movie is, as brutal as the killings are, for some reason in this Scream movie, they chose not to kill off as many people as I thought.
Yeah,
like,
I had the same reaction.
There is a thing in the Scream where the main characters survive to the next time and then they get killed off or something like that. But for some reason, this is the first Scream movie where they really didn't want to kill off anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's like the purpose of what they're trying to say. It's kind of like, oh, you knew we were going to kill people off because we've always done it, and this time everyone survives.
Yeah.
But it's
not for a lack of trying though, because they got cut off.
Like the way they were stabbed, it's like, no way does this person live. Like one character gets stabbed like
80 times, bro. They got like a triple combo, bro. Like it was like
and then he's like this. I'm good, y'all. Like, wait a minute.
It's like ain't no way.
So it's just strange because in previous Scream movies where you feel like characters would have lived or should have lived, because even Kirby, when she got stabbed, I mean, you don't know about her being alive at all. So you just assume she did die. And it's like, boom, Scream 6 comes around and actually that character lived. But her stab is kind of like a stab in the gut and maybe like another one. Right. So you're like 2 stabs. But this dude gonna get stabbed like 20 times and you're gonna have the gall to sit there and tell me he good? Like,
he's a fighter.
Exactly. So it's just like and the Scream movies are kind of in that parody thing, like,
Yeah.
oh, he clearly looked dead. Well, guess what? He's not. And then
Yeah.
you'll be on like just a normal Tuesday on Twitter, and it'd be like someone stabs 50, survives 50 stabs, and you're like,
Right.
Scream be taking it like, yeah, see, look, it's real. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing. Like, I really felt like they had an opportunity to really go above and beyond and
Yeah.
kill a lot more characters and make it feel even more meaningful, because the tension
Mhm.
was there when Ghostface was on the screen. It was just kind of like,
Yeah.
on once you finish the whole movie, you're like, wait a minute, like, why ain't y'all finished the job on this? Like, was this like a creative decision? Like,
Yeah.
but that was like one of my biggest L's for this whole movie.
I don't know. I like that they survived. I don't know, like standalone, because it's like it was kind of like poetic justice, kind of like the way that,
Yeah,
like, you know, they had their moments, and then you look back and it's like, oh, they didn't die, like, so it wasn't for nothing type beat, you
yeah.
know. But even with Mindy, when she got stabbed and like she got basically like raked up, like
Mhm.
she came back, she was running, doing a
Was
whole
running.
bunch, like it didn't happen an hour ago. Like that
And
would never
she was
happen,
guessing
bro.
the killer. She was like, "Oh, it's
Right,
so and so and so and so," and I'm like,
right, yep,
"How are you moving?
yeah, it's
It's like the
crazy.
morning."
Right, right, and they just let her go and see everybody, and then I was just like, hey, y'all got it, y'all got it. They survived. I'm good with that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of how I took it. Um, but there's a different part to the fights that we didn't really talk about yet, which was the chases. So we had a few chases in the movie. How did you feel about those? I think the most like scary movie one was the Gail one when she was running around her apartment.
Yeah.
Because
So
that was the most like, I don't know, maybe it was her run or whatever, but that joint just had me weak.
so one thing I will applaud the directors, um of Scream, the last two Screams, is they really do an amazing job of taking care of the main original characters.
Mm-hmm.
And in the previous Scream, they killed off one of the like oldest characters, and in this one, it was kind of like, oh my god, they're gonna do it to Gale now, and
Yeah.
it just reminded me kind of like those Star Wars sequels when you move on from Luke Skywalker, but
Mm-hmm.
you kind of are wondering how will the direction go, because it's a iconic character of the franchise. You have to send them off right,
Right.
and again in this movie, they give Gale like all the fighting chance to defeat Ghostface.
Yeah.
Like, she's dodging, she's get like punching him back. She
Right.
gets the gun, he calls back. Like, it's like a full on, you this character, the main one of the main characters gets 15 minutes of fame, and then
Yeah.
still Ghostface kind of like sends him off.
That
And I'm
callback
like,
was elite though. Like when she was like, wait 1 second. Boop. I was like,
exactly.
oh, I was like,
Because
oh
I didn't even expect that. Cause
no.
and that's crazy, because if I'm getting murdered, I would not even think to do that.
Exactly.
So when
Exactly.
she did that, I was like, "Oh my god." And then she still like got. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, this is kind of how you send off your characters. You don't do them
Mm-hmm.
dirty. You do
Right.
them like going out with a fight
Right.
somehow, some fashion. Even make it they barely got away, or they're really close, or you're like, "Dang, the killer really tricked you or got you."
Mm-hmm.
And like, she had a chance to really defeat them, and I was like, "Up, too slow."
Right.
And so I want to applaud the directors and producers, because for two movies back to back, I think they took care of the main characters, which was potentially a send offs for these characters. Because
Mm-hmm.
let's face it, they're old now,
Yeah.
in crazy amazing ways. So hey,
Yeah.
one of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah. The only thing about it was the combo to get into the safe. That was the only thing I didn't get. The gun combo. It was four.
Come on,
It was 4 buttons.
yeah,
He gotta be better than that, Gil. But you know, another thing that I was trying to figure out, like to help me figure out before we get into the reveals of Ghostface,
yeah, sure.
was the how they shot Ghostface essentially. Because like a lot of times, like I was just trying to figure out, like, okay, if this was somebody, like, if this is somebody we already seen, like, how tall are they in reference to like what we're seeing right now? You know what I'm saying? And they did a good job with like making Ghostface like essentially the same height at all
Yeah.
levels, so you could not tell. Like you really thought it was just one until it was
It's revealed.
two. Yeah, and I was just like, dang. I was like, yo, that is really good
Yeah.
because it makes even more sense when we get into the reveal, which was that they were all related,
Yeah.
essentially. So we can get into that. I want to hear you break this down because you have more of the lore of
Yeah.
like
It's tough.
what actually happened. Because I'm not confused, but I don't have the backstory to like, you know, make it all kind of make sense. You know?
Yeah. So essentially, in all Scream movies, there
Mm-hmm.
is a trope that there's actually two Ghostface. There's
Okay.
normally two. And in this movie, they break down all the previous killers, so it's a little spoilery for if you want to go back and watch them. And there's one case where there's only one Ghostface, and they
Mm.
kind of make fun of it that they were trying something new.
Yeah.
So in this one, you kind of wonder, is there two Ghostface? And
Mm-hmm.
then when it's revealed, and they murder someone, and they
Yeah.
go, shoo, and you see both of them.
Yeah.
Hella tough scene. Hella tough scene. And you see that there are two, you're like, dang. But the big reveal is there's actually technically three Ghostface or three killers. And we get the reveal that it's the police officer dad,
Mm-hmm.
the roommate of uh Tara,
Yeah.
what's her name? I just said it. Quinn.
Quinn. Yeah.
And the brother, who we did not know was the brother, and that was Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much they forged Ethan's name so that he didn't look like they were related.
Oh.
And
Okay.
all three of them were taking revenge from Scream Six's killer, which
Yeah.
was their brother.
Right.
So the killer in Scream Six pretty much meets Sam, the main character, uh, and they
Mm-hmm.
go back to Woodsboro together, the boyfriend and Sam, and the
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend's actually the killer. So moving on to Scream
Mm.
Six, in Manhattan, pretty much the family of the killer of Scream 5
Right.
are all Ghostface,
So
trying to seek revenge on Sam
okay.
and Tara.
So that's why they kept saying we're gonna show them who you really are because they look at it
Exactly.
as she murdered their
Brother
brother or son
and lied.
versus her protecting herself from getting killed.
Exactly.
So their
Exactly.
mind is okay. So that makes a lot more sense. That
And
makes a
that's
lot more
why
sense.
throughout the movie itself, when you're watching it, it's very confusing, like what is Ghostface motive.
Yeah.
But now once it's revealed, you kind of can piece together what they're talking about the whole time. Like, we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
show everyone who you really are, and it's really, we're framing you because you killed our family.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that was a big thing in the movie, kind of like, why would you kill the therapist?
Yeah.
uh he has no link to any of the characters other than Sam.
Right.
And then it's because they're trying to pin it on her. They're trying to pin
Mm-hmm.
the murders on her. So it's like, oh, they killed the therapist, they killed some friends, they killed
Right.
so and so. I mean, it can only be one person. There's no other link.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of because one person's a cop, you can kind of get away with certain things like
Right.
Kirby is FBI agent. Just kidding. She's bad.
Right.
And
She
it's
got
like, nah,
kicked.
yeah. And it's like, I
Yeah.
just want to get you there
Right.
to
When he
lure
said
you
that,
in.
when the cop said it, I was like, oh, it's like, wait, what? I was like, ain't no way.
Exactly.
I was mind blown. It was getting me every single time with these reveals
Yeah.
because I was just like, I didn't know what was going on. But it was also uh when you look back at some of the things that the police officer said, because he also was like, yeah, anybody that hurts my family gotta go. They gotta
Yep.
go. And then he looked directly in her eyes and it's like, I'm looking at you because you did it. I was like, oh. But it's
Yeah.
like, how you don't know that was his dad? Like they must not. He must not live
And
with them or something.
yeah, it's like you don't date that person for a long enough time that you meet the parents or
Right.
anything, or you know anything about the parents.
Yeah.
And
That's
in the
crazy.
scream in the last scream, we don't really know the boyfriend's background at all. We just know it's the boyfriend. So
That's insane, Chris.
and another thing is, because this is a requel, like Mindy explains,
Mm-hmm.
the first scream, the killer is the boyfriend, and in the second scream, the killer is the mom. So in this one, it's literally
What?
a sequel again, recreated.
Yeah.
And Mindy does explain that it's
Mm-hmm.
it all over again. Like
Yeah.
it
Slasher
and
movie
it's
within a slasher.
And it's kind of crazy to imagine, like, wow, they actually redid it and like straight up told you.
Yeah. And even I was like, there was moments where when Sam was looking in the glass, because we didn't talk about this yet, but there was a shrine that the dad built essentially for his son. That was the final scene for the movie. And it had all the memorabilia. It was like the Bat Cave, but for
All the previous
Ghostface.
sequels.
Yeah. And like she kept having these visions or whatever where like somebody was talking to her. I don't
It's
know
her
who that
dad.
was.
He's the first original killer.
Oh, he's the first one. Okay.
Yeah, and then she's the daughter of the first original
Wow.
killer.
That's even getting more crazy. That's a lore right there. See, Chris is on top of it. That's how you come to the Wild Geek Show. But I was just sitting there like, I was like, oh, she really crazy. I was like, maybe like, and then when she actually put it on to like do the final joint, I was like, oh, you kind of taking it a little far. Like,
I was like, uh-oh.
I don't think you need that to the voice box to do what you're doing right now.
Like,
but it made it more, it made it more like crazy when you actually saw it. Yeah. But they also got in their Michael Myers bag and didn't want to go down too a lot.
Yeah,
because that one,
it's a trope that Scream always does.
Yeah, that one dude like got stabbed in the throat, the brother.
Yeah,
and she turned the knife on him. He still was screaming at him. I was like, bro, I was like, this guy's going crazy.
And like that, like, and that's the thing about scary movies, especially the Scream franchise. It's supposed to be a parody on it. This one's a little bit more true to threat or slasher movies.
Right.
But Scream, if you ever watch all of them, they always make the point that in scary movies, the bad guy's never dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, or the bad guy always comes back to life. In every Scream movie, the bad guy always comes back to life as a joke, and they have to shoot them again or shoot them in the head or something like that. And they make a point of it. And then again in this one, for the 6th time in a movie, the bad guy came back to life in a scenario where the throat was slashed.
Yeah.
You're just like,
ow,
because it's just a normal scary movie trope that just always happens, and you kind of wonder why.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
bad guys always live through stuff like that.
And the police show up at the perfect time when all the killing is done.
The exact moment when all the killing is done.
We're here to save the day. Yeah. And it's like they're the only ones left to, like, that's so crazy that like nothing happens to them, like no investigation, no nothing, like they just freely was able to stab everybody that they needed to stab and just like, all right, everybody knows what happened here, like it's all good. And just walk away.
If Kirby did die, I mean, they'd probably be in major trouble, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that was another thing. And when did she get up? When did she get up? Like I was like, where did she go? Like there's so many questions that you just got to chalk it up to it being a scary movie and stuff like that.
Yeah, like, hey, they just missed. They hit the shoulder, like.
Yeah,
I guess
it just went straight through. Like I don't know, but or nah, because she got shot, right?
Yeah, she got shot.
So she might have had a bulletproof vest though. You know?
Okay, yeah. Let's go for
that might be it.
But I wanted to ask you, so what did you think about the killer reveals? Because that's a big thing in the Scream franchise, like who the killers are. Like, what did you think about the family killers?
When it initially happened, I was like, as geeked as you would expect. But like once they started explaining, I was like, I was just wanting it to be somebody else, kinda, or like,
me too.
Like not like as clear cut and make so much more sense. I wanted to be more of a mystery. I'm like, yo, how did this person go crazy? Like I like the initial premise of the 2 college students trying to become Ghostface essentially, and they getting their kind of like warm up on their teacher, more than I like the family dynamic, because it's like once I saw what was his name, like Richie or something like that. Once I saw him and I was like, dang, the curls was a dead giveaway. You know? Like they like
what's his name? Ethan.
Ethan, yeah,
he
like
has Richie's curls.
right. And I was like, that's a dead giveaway, but I guess they can't like they wouldn't put two and two together. Um, and then also like um once the dad was like the enabler essentially of everything, and he ain't processed nothing. I was just like, all right, it's I guess like it wasn't as um crazy as I thought it was going to be, because initially I was like, oh, it's him. Like everybody kind of just was guessing. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. But it made sense why the other girl, when she called her a slut, and she was like, I was like, dang. I was like, you didn't have to say it like that. Like, I was like, okay, that makes that checks out for you as well. But to convince your kids and then yourself, and then to have that amount of conviction, like to say like, all right, yeah, this is the plan, y'all. This is what we finna do. We gotta get our get back. Um, it felt kind of forced. Like I kind of like the idea of it being like somebody that's legitimately crazy than it being more so like somebody that kind of went crazy.
Yeah.
And was like, they don't have like, you can't retrace their steps as far as like, yo, how did they become this way? It was just like immediately one thing that changed the rest of their life essentially.
Yeah.
So in the moment I was like, oh, this is cool. But once they started getting to it, I was like, okay, like how y'all gonna win now? That's where I went to next immediately after. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I feel the same way. There was something off again with the killers, and I think you're right. There's something different between the killer being just legitimately a psychopath,
Mhm.
a serial killer, and then somehow like, okay, now this whole family going down this road, the whole
Right.
family somehow went crazy because you killed my brother and we don't trust you type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I guess he raised psychopaths in a way, but it's just not my favorite of the Scream killers.
Mm-hmm.
And while when it was revealed, I sort of got it right. I didn't think there was three,
Mm-hmm.
but I was kind of taken aback. Like, not my favorite reveal and third final act of the normal Scream. Here's the killer. Now we have to defeat the killer.
Right.
So
What
I
if
pretty much everything you just said.
what if they like during that explanation, like, cause they was playing his videos up there,
Yeah.
so like he has something we can look back on and see like how like his downfall essentially, right? But like, what if they went back to the moment it happened, and like, then saw like we got to see their downward spiral essentially of like,
Yeah.
I think that would have made it better, but I don't know how you fit that into the
Yeah.
movie without like because this whole time they were having a conversation, but they were like, they weren't tied up or anything. Like they had free will, they could charge them at any time, but they just sat there and had that conversation essentially.
Exactly.
So it was more so like,
Like they had to be a little bit more craftier, kind of like what you're saying, and to
yeah,
tell that side of the family better
mm-hmm,
and make the reveal more believable
right,
of them being deranged family members of another serial killer in the previous movie.
mm-hmm. Cause like, are do I don't think this is true, but is Tara and Sam have, or is Sam right,
Yeah,
have the same dad?
they don't. They don't.
Okay, so that makes more sense. Okay. Um because I was sitting there, I was thinking like another thing that we haven't talked about yet was the opposite side of that, which was the protagonist in this and their growth that we got to see
For
across the
sure.
movie, because you got to see like how two different types of people react to the same situation. We kind of see that with the core four.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Um, yeah, we kind of see that with the core four in general, of like how they all adjusted to it. Whereas like, Sam is kind of like dwelling in it, and then Tara wants to just move on, essentially.
Yeah,
And they kind of come to the conclusion like, all right, we need a little bit of both. and we're gonna get through this together. And I think that was a cool way to kind of like wrap up the movie, without leaving us kind of like not on eggshells, but just like with nothing. Because a lot of times that like happens within movies, just like, all right, not necessarily we need to learn our lesson or anything, but we be together so we can go ahead and end the movie now. We did get some closure in that aspect. But since you saw the previous one, is there any like more to that I missed, or is
No,
that
I think you did a great job of that. It really added to the previous movie because the previous movie is definitely inferior to this one.
mm,
But to see that growth of, because think about it, we're watching a slasher movie that's also type like slight parody on scary movies.
mm-hmm,
Yet those two characters actually were affected by the attack of the serial killer from the
mm-hmm,
previous movie, and to see that dynamic, them trying to go two separate ways, even the whole point of you're the one following me to New York.
mm-hmm.
Like, I'm trying to move on. Like, let me make my own decisions type thing.
Right.
But
Let
the
me
only
go.
thing, yeah, let me go. I mean, that's a and it wasn't like super forced onto it. It's just something
Yeah.
100% believable. If you got attacked by a serial killer,
Right.
all right, 2 years later, are you still traumatized by that? And
Mm-hmm.
clearly, everyone should be. And it's just
Right.
two different people. But one thing that from the previous movie that clearly this Scream franchise is still trying to poke at is that Sam is the daughter of a serial killer. Is she leaning towards the serial killer tendencies? Because
Mm-hmm.
even when she put on the ghost face mask and suit, like you were talking about, the way she was stabbing that
She's
dude
going
was
crazy.
was not normal.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna just say that. I think even Tara saw that and was like,
It's like,
"Yo,
yeah.
are you good?"
Right. Yeah. That's bad.
So So, I think that's the only thing
But
that's still
Even Tara kind of smiled. She smirked when
she
she
did.
had her moment. And I was like, oh, there's Wednesday. That's what I was just
Yeah.
thinking. I was like, oh man.
So they're definitely trying from uh beyond those two characters, the protagonists.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely going from Scream to Six. Somehow Sam is still questioning whether she is a good person or is
Right.
she like her dad. And we'll probably, if there is a seven,
Mm.
maybe we'll get an answer to that. But
Man, that's probably gonna be like 20 of these things. They never gonna stop.
I mean, they got to. I mean, we're talking Requel. I mean, I didn't even know
Yeah.
that was a word.
Right. But like it's Fast X out there. Like they could keep going, bro. They could keep
Yeah,
going at this point.
probably.
But you got anything else for this joint other than a rating?
And man, I think we ironed out this movie. We didn't
Yeah.
actually see the movie together. It
Yeah.
was another weekend that we couldn't get into the theater at the same time. But my theater was pretty good. I had some people mad during the movie, like
For real?
because this type of movie, like or slasher movies, people will be like, "Y'all acting dumb," and it's like, yeah, they are. Like, and that's why I always give scary movies this like buff because it's just like they have to do this stupid situation
Yeah.
so then the killer can kind of get to place or get in a scenario to make them feel danger or something like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
Ghostface could not open the dang door while they're
Yeah.
running across the dang ladder.
Yeah.
You know
That
how
was
long
bad.
it would take three people to
The
get through
crossover.
that ladder and you
Yeah.
can't open the dang door?
That was.
Crazy.
I felt so bad for that girl, man. She went out
Yeah.
sad. She went out super sad.
Yeah. But
But
as for a review or a rating, to be honest, I'd probably give this one an 8, but I'm gonna
okay.
go with a 9.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
I think this is actually gonna end up being my second favorite Scream movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's probably sitting at 3, but
Okay.
I think it's surprising at 6. I was really nervous because I thought it was gonna be trash
Mm-hmm.
because the previous Scream was mid, and like this one is definitely way better. I love
Yeah.
the kills in this one. It's way better than any screams I've seen. The killers aren't the best, but there's definitely more tension in this one. The main characters are way better acting wise. Even the core four,
Mm-hmm.
way more likable. And for some reason, all of them lived, and it makes me feel better about a trequel, whatever you want to call it, the
Yeah.
next Scream movie because I would generally feel more worried to lose these characters now,
Mm-hmm.
including Gale, including Kirby, and
Right.
maybe we'll get Sydney back in the last movie. But to me, this is a great setup for the last, potentially final Scream.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think when I look back on this movie, it's gonna be the second best Scream movie. So I can't give it an 8. I'm gonna have to go 9 because I'm thinking I'm gonna like it more the more times
As
I watch it. So
okay, that's what's up. That's what's up.
what would you rate it being one of your few scary movies that you've seen? And I think you've seen like 3 Scream movies.
Yeah, but I can't remember the ones I saw. Like that's how
Okay.
long ago it was. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm gonna go watch Scream today. It was like, oh, dang, that's the thing everybody keep talking about. Let me just watch it for a little bit, then I get scared and cut it off. Like that's kind of how I usually go. But it's the first one I actually like sat and watched through, like legitimately. So, um, for a score, coming out of the theater, I started at an 8, but once I like sat down and thought about like what actually happened, and then also thought about like my other scary movie experiences, I was like, nah, it's better than an 8, bro. So I give it an 8.5. I wouldn't give it a 9, but
Nice.
maybe if I had seen the other Screams, like everybody I talked to this about it was like, oh yeah, you gotta watch all of them. I was just like, dang, I was like, it's like that. But you know, overall, I was like, I liked what I enjoyed it, and I think I have uh, a way to do it because this is like the first one I went and saw by myself. First scary movie I went and saw by myself. So as long as I see that as like matinee, I think I'll be good. Cause then I could
Yeah.
just go throughout my day for the rest of the day, and not have to think about it as much or whatever. But this one was so like I don't know what it was that made it not super spooky. Like
Yeah, it's not spooky.
it's not spooky at all. Like it's a slasher film through and through. But I think it's just the fact that these are just people. I think that's what it really is. But all the other joints like Halloween and Jason and
That
Freddy, this like
supernatural probably get you.
supernatural mystic stuff. I don't. That's a little much. That's a
Open up
little
the demon
much.
book.
Right. That's crazy.
Bad
I don't.
stuff going happen.
That's crazy. I can't do that. But yeah, I think I'll get. I started out at 8, but I'm gonna bump it up to 8.5. Just because there's a lot of good things that happen in this one that I'm still like, I will watch it again. I think. I don't know if I watch. Like, I think I'm gonna have to watch the fifth one now, just so I can see what happened. And then the fact that old boy from the boys is in it too. Um, Richie as Richie. I'm gonna have to do it because
Oh,
he's a Huey in that joint. I think.
Huey.
Yeah, Huey. Yeah. So I was just like, oh, that's what's his name. I was just like, so like I think that's what I'll do. But that's all I got, man.
Yeah, good stuff.
Dope movie. Chris, what you geeked about?
I am geeked about The Last of Us.
Okay. It's
Um,
over. Ah,
it's over. It ended
man.
great. It
Yeah.
ended very good.
Mhm.
And it ended exactly like the game, and it did have the right amount of tension that I
Yeah.
thought the game portrayed so many years ago of that Joel speaking, telling Ellie pretty much a lie.
Yeah.
And there was something about when I watched that or played that the first time that was just so impactful, and I just felt they did a beautiful job in the TV show.
Mhm.
So good. I still have never played Last of Us 2. I'm gonna go play that now, but um, honestly, just an amazing series. I really loved it, and it
Yeah.
was definitely one of the best video game adaptations I've ever experienced, watched, and the actors were very good. I'm very
Yeah.
glad Ellie really grew on me, and
Yeah.
she really killed it. But amazing. Thank you, HBO
Yeah.
Max. Y'all are killing it. I can't believe this streaming
We also
platform.
got the Ashley Johnson cameo in that joint as Ellie's mom, which is really cool, like callback or whatever, or Easter
It,
egg.
yeah, and that whole scene was great.
Yeah. Did
So
that happen in the game too?
I don't think so. I
Yeah.
really don't think so. And that's kind of like what you said this whole time we ever talked about The Last of Us,
Mm.
kind of being able to show those nuggets
Yeah.
just
For
the
sure.
small little nuggets that you wanted to know the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even remember if Marlene was a part of her life the entire time. I really don't know. So maybe I'm just,
That's how I
overblowing it.
wonder. I was like, as soon as they showed that she was there, I was like, well, how did she end up with Fedra? Like,
Yeah.
and I guess it makes sense if you think about it, because it's like Marlene is the head of the Fireflies. Essentially, she can't be bringing a baby out to battle. So where's the best place for one to grow up in this world?
Yeah. You make a good point.
Probably Fedra. Like, if we're being honest, like that has the most likely to survive, and then she can come back and get her, essentially. Which was cool. But the fact that she knew that was Ellie is insane. Like, how do you figure out that that's Ellie, like, after all that time? But I guess you can see, if you know what her mom looked like, that,
Yeah.
you know.
She definitely always made sure to keep an eye on her or something like that.
Yeah.
Because the Fireflies were still in the district that Ellie was a part of.
Mm-hmm.
But even that Joel mayhem scene,
Yeah.
beautiful, so good.
The music did not fit it fit the moment because it was
could
so
have been better.
somber, but it was just
too
like
somber.
yeah. I was like,
I
yo,
think everyone's gonna think that.
I was like, yo, what is happening on the screen is madness, like, right now. But the music, it was just like, it was beautiful. But I was just like, dang, I don't know if this is the music for this moment. Because I never remembered why Joel did that. Because I was just like, I didn't know. Like when they said that, you know, cordyceps grow in the brain, I was like, oh, she's not going to survive this.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No, I thought it was gonna be like a bud thing. I forgot why. I was just like, oh dang. I was like, dang. And it happened so naturally where I was just like, I don't know where they're at now. Because they just was at that point they was just traveling, so like they kind of sped it up, but it works like in the midst of it, and it's just like, dang. Just as soon as they, like, Ellie's starting to get back to being her normal self, it's just like, dang, it's raps now.
Yeah, I know. I just remember it's such a big debate online whether Joel did the right thing or was Joel a bad person.
I can't wait for season 2 now.
Yeah, that whole encounter, and because it was a game, it was like over. Like there was no justification. You just see Ellie at the end of it say "okay," and then the game's over. Like, it's just beautiful storytelling back then, beautiful now, and
you gonna freak when you play that game. You gonna freak. Because
I have to do it though, because I don't want to get spoiled like of anything. So,
I mean, is
we
that
gotta talk about it.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, is that a spoil by watching the show? Or you're saying, yeah, because it's still a first experience.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But that John was goated.
What you geeked about, G?
So I'm geeked about The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is back, season 3, and we just saw freaking. Did you watch it before I say anything? Okay. We saw a freaking mythosaur, bro. A mythosaur, and that joint is way bigger than I was expecting, and it's underwater, and I don't like deep water, and that freaked me out.
That's scary.
That freaked me out, bro. That joint's just living down there, and it's like a hippo because it's just like doing it for fun, like drowning people for fun, bro. Like, it didn't even. What was the point of that? And also, I guess he would have the helmet footage of him bathing in the water to prove that he did it. But I was also trying to figure out, like, how are you gonna prove that this happened? You know, like he has a witness, but his witness is Grogu, and before that it was, and after that it was Bo-Katan and Grogu. So it's just
she can vouch for him, but overall, like, how do you go back and say, yeah, I did it?
I did it, yeah. And it's also inhabitable. But I'm excited to see where that's going because Mandalorian go crazy. Another Pedro Pascal project. You know what I'm saying? Goats.
This man always protects his children.
Facts. Even though in this one, Grogu kind of helped him out because he was getting bodied. I ain't gonna cap. He ain't been right since. He was going through it that episode. But yeah, super excited for that to come out again this week. And other than that, Snowfall's going crazy. Anime's doing its thing. And yeah, John Wick coming soon. I think that's the only thing I'm really excited for. Like movie now. Creed reviews gonna drop this week. Hopefully tomorrow. And yeah, man. That's it. So hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. If y'all did, rate the podcast 5 stars. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you watch on YouTube. Hit that follow button if you're on your favorite audio platforms, man. And yeah, we'll see y'all next week, man. Stay geeked. Peace.
Later, y'all.